Hi everyone, it's Mindy from My Creative Scoop and I'm back with another tutorial for scrapbookpal.com. Today I'm going to be using a variety of different Nuvo products to create some really awesome backgrounds. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is I've cut 3 different pieces of cardstock. This is heavyweight cardstock, about 110, and it's cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And then I've taken a couple of the Nuvo paintbrushes that we're going to be using, and we're going to start by adding a little bit of water to this piece of cardstock. So I have my Nuvo mist spray bottle, and I'm just going to lightly mist it all over the paper, just a little bit, and then we're going to take one of the paintbrushes and just kind of make sure that it's all over the place. Just giving it a little bit of water. Let's go a little bit more. That way it makes the paint and inks that we're adding go on a little bit smoother. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spray bottle again, and I'm going to spray some just right here on my mat. That way I can take this shimmer powder and just give a little, now this is powder so it comes out really fast, so you just want to give it a little squirt so that way it goes onto the mat. And then we're going to take one of our brushes and mix it around into the water. So it creates, it's not a paste because it's really watery, it's like a water base, but there's these metallic shiny sparkles inside this paint, and it's really pretty. And then we're just going to go ahead and flick it onto our paper. Now you can go as heavy or as light as you want. I'm going to go really heavy, so I'm going to keep adding. I'm going to pick up some of the ink and flick it onto that paper. Now you want to go some really close, so that way they have those splatters, and then some far away. So that way it creates all that different texture and different sizes of splatters. So after I get a good amount kind of all over the place, and you could tell that it's really somewhat dark still. So then we're going to add a little bit more water. This is going to kind of dilute it a little bit and make it a little bit lighter. That way we get a different shade on our paper. And then we're going to dilute it some more. And then we'll do the same thing, just flicks all over the paper. And you can stop whenever you're happy with it. I'm going to go a little overboard here. So now I'm going to add a little bit more water. And I'm going to lightly graze the edge of the paper with my paintbrush. Pick up a little bit more. That way it's not such a straight line, and you kind of just make it look a little bit like just watermarks all around the page. Same thing here at the bottom. I'm going to add a little bit more water to this. So you want it to be solid all around the edge of the cardstock. So that way it creates this frame. So now we're going to go ahead and clean off. Actually, I'm going to add a little bit more because this is a lot. Actually, let's make a little squirt. Let's make a little bit lighter. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and clean up this mess so we can move on to our next color. So now we're going to take some of the Glacier Paste, and it is a little bit dry, but some of the darker spots are a little bit, they're still wet because there's a little bit more ink right there. So I'm going to take my spatula and some of this, what color is it? Frostbite Glacier Paste, and we're just going to add some to our mat. And then again, we're going to take our little spray bottle, spray it over the Glacier Paste, and we're going to mix it into the water to make it a little bit more liquidy, so that way we can flick this also onto our cardstock. I'm going to add a little bit more. It is a thicker texture, but it will also give our cardstock a little bit more texture, so that way it has a little bit more dimension to the background. So I'm going to get a good amount on our paintbrush, and then we're going to flick it onto our cardstock. Sorry about that, the dogs hear something outside. Okay, so we're gonna clean this mess off, and hopefully my dogs will stop barking, and then we can move on to our next color. Okay, so finally we are going to be using the Enchanting Pink Nuvo Drops, and we're gonna do the exact same thing. So I'm gonna squeeze out a little bit of the Nuvo Drops onto my mat and then spray it with some water. Mix it around with my paintbrush. I'm gonna add a little bit more to that. And then we're also going to be flicking this onto our cardstock. Now you can wait for this to completely dry. Mine's still a little bit wet. I like how it mixes all together. But since we're not going to be moving it, it's going to kind of mix together, but then it's going to stay right in here. But it might mix in a little bit right in there just because, you know, the green's still a little bit wet right there. So let's add a little bit more of our pink. You want to get a lot on your brush so that way you pile it on there and then just flick it with your finger and it flicks off and you get a nice big pink splatter. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and leave this here, clean it up, and we're going to get ready for the next background. Okay, so for this background, we're going to be using the Nuvo Embellishment Mousse. This color is called Mousse Poppy Pink. So I'm going to use my spatula, and we're going to add a little bit to our mat. And then we're going to take our little spritzer water bottle. Move the cardstock for a second. Spray this down to get it nice and moist so that way we can make a paste. And I really want to get all of the chunks out. I want it to be really, really smooth, so I'm just going to keep kind of working the paste until it's nice and smoothed out. May need to add a little bit more water. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, the area here, so that way I can just lay my cardstock down and it's going to create a nice shape. So that way it looks very natural, just like a paint splatter. Then we're going to take our cardstock, it's the same 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm just going to lay the cardstock down, give it a little press, and there we go. So let's go ahead and pick up some more of this paint or ink. We'll add a couple more flicks. And where we have the chunks of the mousse, we're gonna just kind of work it through a little bit just to soften it up, just so it doesn't stand so high. But we kind of have something to go off of, the shape of the kind of the splatter. Let's add some more water to this. So I want this one to have more darker parts of pink. So that's why I'm actually touching the paper when I'm flicking it, to give it a little bit more of a natural look. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave that like that, clean up this mess so we can work on with the next color. So now we're gonna use the Nuvo Shimmer Powder, and this is called Meteorite Shower. And we're gonna get our mat wet a little bit and then give a little bit of a poof onto the watered area so that way it starts mixing together, creating the ink that we're gonna be putting onto our cardstock. We're gonna mix it around. Now this is a darker color and I don't want there to be, I wanted this to be a little bit lighter. Or I guess just have a little bit more white in the background. So you're gonna mix it all together and then we're gonna flick, let's flick out a little bit so it's not so, the splatters are not so big. And I'll make a couple of big ones. And let's go ahead and move on to the next color. So we're going to use the Nuvo Glitter Drops. This color is called Lilac Whisper. And again, we're going to squirt a little bit onto our mat. And then we're going to add a little bit of water to it. And mix it all around. And then I'm going to stay closer to the edge of the cardstock. And let's add a little bit more water to dilute it to make it a little bit lighter. And let's do some flicks all over the inside, just to kind of pull together those darker and lighter areas. And I'm going to make a little bit lighter by adding some more water. Alright, so this one's ready to be set off to the side to let it dry. Okay, so for this background, we're going to go ahead and take our Nuvo bottle. I have it about a quarter of a way full with water, and we're going to take our pink mousse, and we're going to add a little scoop into our water bottle. So the more you add, the more it's going to be a little bit darker. The less you add, it's going to be a little bit lighter. So I want it to be a little dark. So I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit more. And then we're going to go ahead and close this up and shake the water bottle really good. Make sure all these little parts fall down inside the water. And we're going to shake this up. Okay, so it's all shaken up and mixed into the water. So now we can just take it and spray it all over our cardstock. And now we have some pink mist to the cardstock, and we're going to let this dry and wipe up our mess. So then we're going to take our Glimmer paste. It's strawberry champagne. Yep, strawberry champagne, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take our spatula and add a little bit to our mat. So I'm just going to use the same Nuvo, the paste that, or the mousse that we put in the water, and just add a little bit of water to our Glimmer paste, and take the paintbrush, mix it around. It's very thick, so we want to add enough water so that way we're able to kind of fling it off our brush and onto our cardstock. And you're going to do this until you are happy with it. And add a little bit more water. Which thins it out. So that way we can add it to a little bit more. I'm going to take it and add it to the edge of the cardstock. And we're going to soften up some of these other areas where there's a lot of the Glimmer paste, and it kind of makes it really thick right there. So we're just going to add a little bit of the condensed Glimmer paste from our mat on certain areas, and then kind of going just around the whole cardstock. And let's add a little bit more water. Dilute it a little bit so it makes it a little bit more runny, so that way we can add a couple more flicks all over our piece of cardstock. And now we are ready to clean up and get ready for the next color. Okay, so now I'm going to take that same Nuvo with the mousse in it, make sure it's nice and mixed around, add a little bit to our mat, and then I'm going to take my paintbrush and I'm going to really saturate it, really get all that ink on here. And then I'm going to set it right in certain areas and really saturate the paper. I need a little bit more. Okay, now everywhere we've saturated it, we're gonna take that shimmer powder and we're just gonna give it a little bit of a squirt right in that area. And then we're gonna spray this again. Pick up some of that water and just flick it right around the area that we just added that paste, or that shimmer powder. After you get all of those areas wet by just dripping a little bit of this water over the powder, you want to get a good amount of water on there. I think we need a little bit more. Okay, so after we do that, we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna soak up some of this excess water so I don't make a huge mess. And then we're gonna pick this up and just kind of shift it all around. Now, if you want more of the pink to show, you can. If you don't, if you want more of the blue to show, you can. But I think I like it just like that. So now I'm gonna just set it here and let it dry. Okay, so here are the 3 backgrounds to all 3 of our cards. They are nice and dry and ready to be put on a card base, so that way we can get out the stamps that we're going to be using to decorate them. All right, so I'm using the new Avery Elle Stay Cool stamp set, and I've stamped them onto my Copic Express It blending card using some Memento ink, and I've also used my MISTI so that way I can make sure I get that nice crisp stamped image. And now I'm ready to die cut them so we can figure out how we're going to place them on our cards. All right, so here are all my images all die cut out and ready to be placed on our cards. Okay, so here are my finished cards. We have a scalloped border kind of in the center just to give it a little bit of something extra in that background to kind of break it up a little bit. And I'm also using 3 different sentiments also from the Avery Elle stamp set. So I love these cards. I think they're so much fun and you can really add a lot to the backgrounds, and then you don't have to add as much to the front of the card as far as embellishments to even make it look like you went above and beyond. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial this month. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.